Curious about what it's like sailing in Thailand? Erik is recently back from his first trip to Asia with fresh eyes as a first time traveler. He's going to answer all our questions about sailing in Thailand.
Welcome to the What Could Go Right podcast. We are your hosts, Erik, Orton.
And I'm Emily Orton.
And here we talk about personal growth and sailing. In 2014, we moved aboard a fixer-upper sailboat and bootstrapped a year sailing with our 5 kids, and it changed our lives forever.
We tell the whole story in our memoir, our book, 7 at Sea. On this podcast, we want to help you go from fear to freedom, one adventure at a time. So we've been to 26 plus different countries together with our family. Some of those you went to separately, but in all that time, in all those years, in all those countries, we have never been to Asia. And now that's different. That's changed. You went to Asia, you went to Thailand, you took a sailing trip. So we'd love to hear all about it. What were some of your apprehensions before you went to this whole new continent?
Apprehensions. I think my only apprehension was really the length of the flight, because it's a long haul flight to get there. And I've wanted to go to Asia for a while. Our daughter lived in Japan, and her husband is Japanese. And so there's a lot of reasons to want to go there. And I was actually supposed to go to Asia in 2022. I had a film project that I was helping produce, and a small one. And I got COVID 2-3 days before, and I couldn't get on the flights, and I was super bummed. And so I had plans we were going to film in the Philippines, and then I was going to make a stopover in Indonesia on my way home. And that all fell through, which was a disappointment to me. So this was kind of like, redemption, I guess. So, I think just, I'm not a big raw fish guy, and I don't love humidity long term. I grew up on the East Coast, and I've learned to deal with it, but I don't love it. And I knew that there would be both in Asia. But aside from that, I was really just looking forward to it.
Okay, so your apprehensions were the length of the flight, maybe a lot of raw fish.
Yeah, I'm not into like seaweed, stuff like that.
And such a bad listener. What was the third one?
I'm a bad
You're a bad rememberer too. Well, listeners, you heard it here.
Help us remember. Come on, now this is killing me. I'm trying so hard I can't think.
I know. Sometimes that happens.
I kind of want to hit rewind. Anyway.
All right. Well, maybe people, if you're watching on YouTube, you can remind us in the comments what we forgot. Things you're apprehensive about. Because I think we kind of get stuck on the seaweed and you're like, ugh. But you know what? We have kids who love it, and they would love that about it. Okay. So then what were some of the things you were looking forward to?
What was I looking forward to in Asia? I just think the scenery is really different there. I mean, and I'll get into this, I guess, in Thailand, but it's just like the geography, these beautiful dynamic cliffs that just come straight up out of the water. I knew that the water would be warm, 83 degrees. It's green. It's kind of a jade green instead of the blue and turquoise that we're used to in the Bahamas and the Caribbean and the Mediterranean. So there's a different, just some subtleties that make it, you truly feel like you're in a different place. I won't say different planet, because Asia is very much on this planet, but I think the only thing that I could compare it to is when we were road tripping across Europe, and Eli and I took a trip to Morocco, and we crossed from Spain, took a ferry across into Morocco, and I felt like I'd entered another world. Mm-hmm. And I felt that way when I got to Asia as well.
I remember the third thing that you weren't looking forward to, and that was the humidity.
Oh yeah, the humidity.
Yeah, humidity. Erik's not a big fan of humidity, but most tropical lush places are humid, and this is one of them.
Yeah, if you're going to live on a boat, you're going to deal with humidity, and so I've learned to just deal with it.
Okay, so tell us where you went, because Thailand is long.
Okay, so Thailand, looking at it on a map, it's the west coast of Southeast Asia, and it's well north of Australia. It's kind of like straight. Actually, here's the thing: it's straight south of eastern Russia. Tons and tons of Russians there. We can get into that.
Yeah.
But it faces the Indian Ocean, and it shares a border with Malaysia, mostly to the south.
Okay, and which part of Thailand were you in?
Oh yeah, so we went to Phuket, which is a little island on kind of the southwest side of Thailand, and it's an island technically, but it's the bridge that connects it is pretty short, kind of like Manhattan is an island, but it's still very much part of mainland United States. It's unlike Hawaii or Bermuda that are just kind of out there by themselves. So Phuket is an island, and it's one of the more popular tourist destinations, and but it's separated, and it's but it's world class. It's world class.
Okay, so as a popular tourist destination, you would say it was pretty populated, or you were there in the high season? So was it kind of like a beach town vibe, or?
So the island of Phuket has one major city called Phuket, and but it's very populated, and it's got everything. It's got roads, cars, freeways, shops, restaurants, malls, all that sort of stuff. And so if you don't come with plans to get on a boat, there's so much to do on land. But one of the things that I quickly realized is that they have these boats, these long boats. They're made out of wood. They're sort of iconic and what you think of when you think of Thailand. And they have these monster engines that come off the back. It's like a long rod that is the axle, and at the end is the propeller, and on the other end is kind of like a car engine. It's almost the size of a small car engine.
Huge.
And then they have a pivot that's right on the stern of the boat, and the drivers will pivot this rod left or right, up and down, to kind of steer the boat. And you can book one of these boats to take you almost anywhere you want to go off island, like to go on an excursion. And so these boats are coming and going all the time, and depending on which parts you are, they're quite loud actually, which was surprising. They don't have good mufflers.
You kind of imagine, at least I do, kind of imagine Thailand being, at least on the water, maybe being tranquil or quiet. There's jade green waters and big cliffs, and I'm thinking nature, but you're like, and there's these car engines that are up out of the water, not muffled, going back and forth all the time.
Yeah, there was a lot more action and movement on the water than I was expecting. And so I'll just get into some of the places that we went, if that's all right, to kind of illustrate.
Yeah, tell us where you went.
So we left the north end of Phuket out of New Haven Marina, I think is what it's called. And we sailed out of the channel, out into the bay. And there we went to this one island the first night, and we were the only boat there. It was totally quiet, totally tranquil. It got a little windy, and we ended up having to pull anchor in the middle of the night and move around to the other side of the island because the wind shifted. But it was very quiet, very serene. And we were there at the beginning of high season. The season goes like this. Basically, I think May through October is the rainy season. And then November through April is the dry season, because it's always warm. It's just whether it's wet or dry. But even while we were there was plenty of rain. I mean, it's tropical for a reason. And so we started kind of in the remote northern end of this bay, and gradually sailed south. And there are some hot spots. We went to what are called the PP Islands, PHI. And there's Koh Phi Phi and a couple of others. But it was actually very well developed in the sense that it's this teeny little sandbar of an island, but there's lots of restaurants and shops, and there's a Burger King.
Yeah.
And there's a McDonald's. And I was like, what in the world? But there's all kinds of other stuff as well. And, ferry boats are bringing people in and out. And then from there, you can get on an excursion that will take you out to these little more remote national park islands where there is nothing. It's very undeveloped. And so I guess I was surprised that you could be closer to civilization than I thought in Thailand, and that there are places to be away and remote, but you kind of have to know where you're going, because a lot of people go there to enjoy it. Some people go there to party. Some people go there to just, relax. But you got to know what you're looking for. And if you know what you're looking for, you can find it.
Nice. Okay. I think you addressed some of the things that surprised you in Thailand. Maybe what were some of your favorite parts? Like 10 out of 10 would recommend?
I think you need to get your face in the water.
Mm.
Snorkeling and scuba, one or the other, are a must, in my opinion. I was with a group that really they went specifically because they wanted to scuba dive. And so we had scuba gear on the boat. And then we also teamed up with the dive shop and we did some scuba diving with the help of a guide. And
well, that was one of the surprises too. Like you have to hire a local guide to scuba. You can't just go out there on your own, or if you do, there's going to be
in certain areas you have to have a guide. If you're in a national park, you have to have a guide. Mm-hmm. If you're outside of a national park, you do not have to have a guide. Mm. And so that was good to know. And we never dove without a dive in the park.
A dive guide, yeah.
A dive guide, yeah. So and the sea life down there is incredible. We saw massive schools of fish, beautiful turtles, something I'd never seen before, a seahorse, which was kind of wild. And the visibility is incredible. Well, if you go to the national parks, the visibility is incredible. Other places, you'd have to hunt a little bit more. But I'll just say the food is incredible. Things are quite affordable, even though, people are savvy and they know that if you're there, if it's mostly tourists, they know how to raise the prices to where they can do better business wise. And so it's if you're in a touristy area, it's a little bit pricier, but the food is incredible. There's tons of great restaurants everywhere. The water is incredible. It's so warm and clear. And I really loved, again, just going back to these cliffs, just the geography of the landscape coming just straight up vertical out of the water and having a chance to, see it at different times of day, sunrise, sunset, rain, shine, clouds, clear. It really was quite dramatic. And I loved looking at that. And there's also chances to go on shore and walk around and climb up onto some. I didn't get to do as much hiking as I would have liked, but one of the couples that was on board, they did not go diving with us one day, and they went on this hike. And I was just looking at their pictures the other day, and I was like, man, what a cool view, what a cool spot to be at. And so there's plenty to do on the water and on land. And, and as we were sailing back, we went south out of the marina, and there's this whole north region. And I just looked at it and I was like, oh man, that looks so enticing. I would love to explore all that, but our time was up and we had to go home. And so it's an open book with the first chapter written, I guess.
What could go right?
What could go right? Hey there, before we sign off, I'll just give you the sailing update. I'll keep it short and sweet. Basically, between now and the end of the year, you can use a promo code to get $500 off a trips that we're doing to the Mediterranean next year. So if you're booking a cabin for 2 people and you want to get a discount, you got to sign up to talk with me first, or just email me if we already know each other. But if you book and you use code EARLYMED2025, you'll get $500 off a cabin for 2 people. So sign up for a call or drop me a line. Let me know. That discount applies to Italy in June, Greece in July, and Croatia in August. It's first come, first serve. It's good till the end of the year or till the trip sells out, whichever comes first. We are doing other trips after that. So if you want to go to Mexico, the Bahamas, or the Caribbean in the fall of next year, we do have space available. Pretty much everything else is booked out. We've got one trip to the Bahamas that's got space, March 31st through April 5th. So if any of that's of interest to you, let me know. Or if you want to jump on one of these med trips for early booking, you can get a $500 discount if you're booking for 2 spots. So that's the word. Hope to see you aboard.